Well, hello and welcome to my episode on the VOA Radiogram. So what I've got is my radio hooked directly up to my computer, and I've got the signal coming in. As you can see, it's very, very noisy signal. All of those lines going straight down are all a bit of noise that's coming through. It's basically the audio that I could hear was very, very weak, but we'll work with what we've got. So I'll click on the right spot there. So it's important that you click FL Digi onto the right frequency. Now I've got the auto frequency control, the AFC, and right down in the right hand or down near the right hand corner of the screen, and it will try to adjust to match. But that's probably not so important for what we're doing, but I'm going to leave it on for now. So you need to make sure that you've got the signal that you're looking for, which is that more intense yellow part of the signal, within the red bars. And you need to make sure that you've selected, for at least this transmission, it's MFSK32. So more information can be gotten from the VOA Radiogram website on what modes they're using at what time. And even in this transmission, they are trialling out MFSK64, which is actually a wider signal and it's got more data. So let's skip forward and see what else we can find in this transmission. So here it looks like it's got an image going to come through. It's telling me about the image, and there we go, 269 by I think 132 it was. So let's see what quality of image we get. Tick-tock, let's see how it goes. It seems we're getting something there, but it looks really, really, really not good quality. So all the noise that's coming through on top of the transmission is affecting. Now, the text is coming through mostly okay, but this data image doesn't look like it's surviving the the transmission very well. I'm guessing that that at least when the text is coming through, there's minimal error correction, but on an image, they're probably relying on your eyes to be able to do the image correction. So, as you can see, the picture is not really not viewable at all. Let's have a listen to what the transmission sounds like. Now, as you can probably tell from the audio, it's not that great quality. There is a lot of noise there. The microphone on my phone that I'm using there isn't picking up all the noise. There is a lot of hum on the noise as well, a bit of a buzz sound, and that buzz is what is causing those lines on the actual waterfall diagram there. So that's what that's called. If sort of give you a bit of an introduction as well for those that don't know, that is called a waterfall display. It's got that waterfall type effect. All right, so we've got some more data coming in. As you can see, it's not, the text that's coming through isn't 100%. Now, when you're reading text, it's not too much of a problem because you can sort of guess the words that should have been there, but especially when it's putting email addresses and things that need to be accurate, not always going to be able to get it 100%. Alright, so we're about 20 minutes into the transmission, and we seem to be getting a lot of, most of it's coming through. We're still getting a bit of noise, but I want to try out using one of the sidebands. Now, for this time, I'm just going to try upper sideband. There really is no difference between upper and lower sideband as far as an AM transmission goes. An AM transmission is upper and lower sideband being transmitted, as well as a signal in the middle to give the radio an indication of where the signal is that it wants to listen to. So we've switched to upper sideband, and as you can see on the waterfall display, we've now got distinct black bars at the bottom and the top, and that's the filter, because on AM this radio doesn't have a very good filter. It just gives you pretty much everything. But on sideband, it will do its best to filter out everything that is not required for human speech. So to hear human speech, you only need to hear up to about 2,500 hertz or 2.5 kilohertz. Even though human hearing goes all the way up to 20 kilohertz, you only need to hear up to 2.5 kilohertz to be able to actually hear what is being said, and that's part of the idea of the way the most amateur radio radios are built. Sideband cuts off at about 2.7 kilohertz, 3 kilohertz, because after that you don't need it to be able to understand what people are saying. Now, we'll mention here that the VOA Radiogram website recommends that you stick with AM, and I would say the same. Stick with AM, mainly because if there's any variations in the signal, if there's fading or if there's a frequency variation because of the way international radio transmissions work, the AM carrier that's in the middle of the signal that we are now ignoring and we're blocking out will help your radio keep a lock on the signal. So what we're essentially doing is we're ignoring that locking part and hoping that there's going to be no variations in the signal between here and America, which it's a fair way. It's got to skip probably 5 or 6 times off the ocean before it actually got to Australia. Now in the text there, it says they're going to switch over to MFSK64, so let's go into the menu, MFSK64. Now the reason they've said is they want to try out Cyrillic, which Cyrillic uses a lot more data to get the text through because there's a lot more characters rather than standard ASCII. Alright, we're getting something coming through, but there's a lot of noise there. So what I might do is I might switch over the audio so you can have a listen to the difference, what MFSK64 sounds like, and we'll come back in a minute. So as you can probably hear there's more of variation of tones coming through. This is just the way that wider band digital radio works. Any other digital transmission, the wider the bandwidth, the more likely that noise is going to interfere with the data. And this is exactly the same as what happens with your mobile phone. As you get further away from the tower and the signal goes down, you'll get less data throughput. Now, most people, you're browsing web pages, you won't know until maybe you get down to maybe 1 bar that you'll actually notice that the data throughput is actually lowering, and that's essentially the same thing that's going on here. When we've got the wider bandwidth, we're picking up more noise as well as signal, and FL Digi's having a harder problem picking out what what we actually want, and you can see that in what's coming through. That's I've got a rough idea what Cyrillic looks like, and most of that is not Cyrillic. And we have to scroll down a little bit here because FL Digi's forgotten how to scroll. And that's just a side effect. So when we're at MFSK32, we're a narrower bandwidth. We're not getting as much data coming through. The 64 and the 32 are to do with how much data can come through. So not as much data coming through, but we're at least, the errors that are coming through are much less at MFSK32. So we've come to the end of the transmission, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with some of the audio that's left after the MFSK32 transmission was finished. There is a bit of audio that you can hear some music playing at the end of the transmission, and you can tell how weak the signal is, and that we're still able to get some data coming through, even though we basically, if someone was talking and telling us the news, we wouldn't be able to hear a thing, I don't think. We can barely hear the music. So I'll leave it at that. Leave a like if you liked the video. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time.